In this episode of the Crafty Stitches podcast, we are going to talk about my fingerless gloves that is finished, my blanket that I'm making, my new Ranunculus that I'm knitting, as well as the Stonecrop Cardi that I am currently knitting on. Let's get started. Good day everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Mariette, also known as die Boervrou, and this is episode 37 of the Crafty Stitches podcast. Today is the 17th of May 2023 and I'm coming to you from South Africa. We are moving into winter. It has been cold, and as you can see, I'm wearing a cowl today because going outside it is just too cold. If you're in the sun it is fine, but even here in the craft room that I'm in currently, it is a little bit cold, and this is keeping my neck nice and cozy. So while I'm talking about it, I can just as well go on. This is the Simple Shaped Cowl Light. It is the previous pattern that I just released a little bit ago, and I really love these shaped cowls. I am planning on making more just as soon as I have something big off the needles. But this is a pattern that you can also knit. You can get your copy of the pattern on Ravelry, or in my online shop, or in my Etsy shop, just where you prefer. I will link it down below for you as well. Right, what else did I want to say? Yes, I have been knitting a bit, and I think we can move into the finished projects so that I only have one finished project, but let's move over to that and then I can show it to you. Right, so my finished project is the fingerless gloves that I am making for my sister-in-law. In the previous episode, the first one was done and blocked, and in the second one was only up to this point, and it is now finished. That is a little stitch marker from Annegret from Tunisian Crochet that was keeping the progress, and I, in the meantime, finished the glove. So let me put them on. Okay, let's see what they look like. I think if these were mine, I would prefer the fingers to be a little bit longer, but this is what my sister-in-law wanted. She is really happy with the shorter fingers, and that is what it looks like. Absolutely gorgeous. Really in love with this project. I really enjoyed making it as well. The second glove that I now just finished, I weaved in all the ends, but I have not snipped them off yet because it still needs to be blocked, and then after that I will cut it off. I did 1 by 1 twisted ribbing, where I just twisted the knit stitches, and I'm really liking the effect of that. Really looks very nice to me. Alright, so this yarn, this is what it looks like in the cake. This yarn is some sock yarn. It is from Big Fox Yarn. It is their sock weight yarn, 3-ply, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. It's got 366 meters on 100 grams, and this colorway is called Cherry Chocolate. Alright, so this gloves I don't know how I will describe the sizing. It fits a 22 centimeter circumference hand, because my hand's 22 centimeters in circumference, and this used 32.2 grams of yarn for the pair, so not a lot. I'm really surprised at how little yarn this used. So I do have quite a bit of yarn left, so I can still do something else with it. Maybe another pair, maybe a full pair, I don't know. We shall see when we get to that. But that is my finished project for this week. I am very happy with these gloves. I have so many other variations in mind that I will have to take a week off to do that. We shall just get to them as we do. Alright, so that is all the finished projects that I have. So let's move over to find out what is on my hook or my needles. Not that I have anything on the hook that I can show you yet, but let's talk a little bit about my works in progress for this episode. Right, my first work in progress for this episode is still my fluffy blanket that I'm making with polyester yarn. So this is the yarn label. This is feathery eyelash yarn, and it is 100% polyester, but there is no meterage to the 50-gram balls, so who knows. I did not do a lot on this blanket this week, or these past 2 weeks, because I've been a little bit distracted by my ranunculus. So I've only added like 3 or 4 rows to this blanket, but it is still growing. It is still growing. Don't poke yourself in the eye. So this is what it looks like, and I'm just still knitting on it as I get a few moments and I want to do something else. This is knit on 5mm US 8 needles. Let me move this up. And I'm just knitting garter stitch with an I-cord edge on both sides, just to give it a little bit more structure. But I still have a lot to do for this blanket because it needs to be 180 centimeters to fit over the foot end of the bed. So that is still a bit that I have to knit. So it's been hanging out at the back of my chair here, and every time I don't have something quite mindless to knit on while waiting for things on the computer or whatever, I just grab it out of this bag at the back of my chair, hanging there, and I can just work on it. So that has been quite nice. Right, I think that is everything for that project. So my second project that I have on the needles is my Stonecrop Cardigan by Andrea Mowry. And this cardigan is being knit out of yarn that I dyed myself. I used a acid dye in the colorway Lilac to dye this yarn, and I think it was a jacquard dye, but never mind. So it's a 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon blend, and this is the color that I got with the lilac dye, and then I'm using just a natural undyed yarn for my contrast color. Right, so in the previous episode I was at that little stitch marker there, also from Annegret from Pincushion Crafts, and it is just so gorgeous. Let me just move it up quickly before I forget. Anyway, so that is what I have so far. I've done a little bit on it. This color work is really, really pretty. I have been battling a little bit with the color work because I'm a English style knitter, and I battle to keep both yarns on my right hand on this finger, because they do get together and then I can't pick the one versus the other when I knit. I've tried putting the yarn on my left hand, but then my tension is very sloppy, and my stitches that I have tensioned with this hand is a lot bigger than the others. So for now I'm basically knitting and dropping and knitting and dropping. So if I have a row where I need to change color every stitch, it takes quite a while. And I think I am at almost 400 stitches at this moment, so it takes a while to do a round. But anyway, so I made a lot of modifications to this at the moment. So I cast on for a size 1, and I also did short rows in the ribbing at the back. You'll see that is quite a bit longer than the ribbing in the front. And then I did the normal short rows for the pattern, but when I finished the ribbing I increased to a size 4 because I want the neckline to be a little bit closer to my neck. I don't know yet if this is going to work because I cannot really fit this at the moment because my barber cords is on the Ranunculus. So the moment I get that out, I will put this on barber cords and see how it fits. I hope it's going to be fine, but time will tell. If I look at it, it doesn't look like the neckline that was done on a size 1 is really pulling in quite tightly or something. It looks completely fine to me, so I will still have to find out. And then the other thing that I have changed is the bobbles. I have this problem that my bobbles leave big holes. So what I basically did is when I knit the round after the bobbles, I think I pick up a strand from the bobble and just knit them together with the normal stitch, just to get the bobbles to not be gapy and holy, because I could put my whole finger through this bobble hole. So I think that does pull my bobbles down a bit, but I mean it's still bobbly if that is a word. I mean they are still standing out quite nicely, so we shall see. But for now this is where I am. I did not get gauge because, yeah, we shall not talk about gauge for this project. So when I have the barber cords and I actually fit this, I will be able to see if this is working or not. I'll be very sad if it's not working and I have to redo it all, but we shall see when I get there. For now, I'm just enjoying the project, and I learned quite a few things about the color work and about my tension on this project, so I think it's just gorgeous. Never mind if it's gonna fit or not. I did fit it once, I think when I was just past this color band, and it looked completely fine, but my Stonecrop Cardi, it is growing. It is growing. I'm knitting on 3.5 millimeter US 4 needles. And what else? I'm knitting this cardigan as part of Michelle from Happy Ever Yarns colorwork make along until the end of October. The hashtag for it is HEY colorwork. It stands for Happy Ever Yarn colorwork, and you can check that out on Instagram. And if you like to join this make along, you can send Michelle a DM on Instagram and I'm sure she will be adding you to the group. So that is the project. I really want this to work because I have been craving a purple cardigan for years. I tried to make one in the past with acrylic yarn that did not work out. So I really want this to be a success. I really want to wear it. So we shall see. But that is my progress for that so far. And hopefully by the next episode I would have been able to fit it and see if it works or not. And yeah, I'll keep you posted on that. So that is my second work in progress. My third work in progress, I think, is the one that got the most of my attention, and it is my third Ranunculus. So this project is also part of a make-along that I'm hosting with my friend Leanie from Independence Yarn Crafts. We are hosting this make-along for the month of May, and you can still join if you want to. I will talk a little bit more about it in the news section of the podcast, but this is what I have so far. That's the front. Ta-da! Okay. I actually had 2 sleeves, but I knit the first sleeve a little bit too narrow and a little bit too tight on my gauge, so I had to rip it out, but I restarted the first sleeve. And then this sleeve is basically finished except for the ribbing, I think. But I have to fit it again because I previously thought it was finished and then I did another 8 rows to it, rounds to it, so I think it might be finished now. Right, so my third Ranunculus. In the previous episode I was at this little stitch marker from Annegret from Pincushion Crafts, and I have not started any sleeves in the previous episode. I was still on the increases for my raglan there, if I look at this correctly. But anyway, so I have also did a lot of changes on this one. Let me start with the yarn. So the yarn I'm using for this is the L Merino DK, which is 100% superwash merino yarn that is brand new from L. And this is 100 meters on 50 grams. And I am using a 4.5 millimeter needles for this project. So what have I changed? I made some notes, so let me just get to my notes because it's quite a long list. So I changed the cast on for the project. It's got 2 different cast on methods in the pattern, but I didn't do any one of those 2. So I did a long tail cast on for my Ranunculus in the 4.5 millimeter needles, but I did cast on 70 stitches because I did want a little bit more stitches than the pattern starts with, because I'm not using a 6 millimeter needle. I did the twisted ribbing as recommended in the pattern, and then after the ribbing I just fudged the increases a little bit, and then I increased to the correct amount of stitches as suggested in the pattern. And then I omitted the short rows in the front. I only did the short rows at the back. I did add some detailed notes on how I finished it off. I don't know, if you do the short rows in the pattern, when you've finished with the back short rows, you move over to do short rows in the front. But because I omitted that, I did it a little bit different to get back to my beginning of round. So I did some detailed notes about how I did that on my project page for this third ranunculus. Then I split my sleeves for size 1, and I did increases. I did my increases in the same rate as the pattern suggests, but I just kept doing that for 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 times, and then I then split for the sleeves and the body. Yes, that is what I did. Alright, and then I added 10 stitches on the body. I casted on 10 stitches under the arm, and I followed the long sleeve instructions. But when I came back to pick up for my sleeves, first I just picked up 10 and it was just a little bit too tight, and then I ripped back and I picked up 14 stitches underneath the arm, just to give me a little bit of more room around my arms. So I think I have 68 stitches for my sleeve when I picked it up. I then basically knit all of this straight until this first different color marker there, and then I did some decreases. Now the pattern does not have any decreases in it for the sleeves, and I think it only calls for an I-cord bind off, so I'm not doing that. I decided I want my sleeves a little bit shaped, so I decreased every 7th round. I decreased 2 stitches, so I decreased 2 on this side of my beginning of round and 2 on this side in the same round, and I did that how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and now I must just confirm that that is enough, because I don't want my sleeves to be too short. But yes, and then I am going to do ribbing as well for my sleeve cuff. I'm not going to do the I-cord. I think I'll be doing the same ribbing as I did here at the neckline. Is that everything? Yes, I think that is everything. The other reason why I wanted to make some decreases for my sleeves is because it's not that I don't like the just straight tube looking sleeves, but because I am going for a more fitted look with this ranunculus, I don't think that an oversized sleeve will fit the fitted look of the body. So I decided I'm definitely doing some decreases. So I'm now busy with knitting the second sleeve, because I found that the moment I ripped out the sleeve, when I fit the ranunculus, it sits a little bit wonky because there's no other sleeve helping to keep the yoke in place. So I thought I will just knit a little bit, maybe about 10 centimeters or so on the second sleeve, and then I'll start fitting it again and see if this other sleeve is long enough. But that is basically everything for this ranunculus. I did block the yoke. I think I mentioned it in the previous episode. So this is all blocked and it's beautiful. The stitch definition of this yarn is gorgeous. I still do see that in what I see in the screen is definitely a different color to this. So I might add in the little clip that I added in the previous episode, just if you haven't seen it before, so that you can see a more true color of the yarn. Because in the screen it looks a lot more turquoise color, and it's definitely not that saturated in real life. Did I mention the colorway? I don't think so. This colorway is called Sage. It is 074. But anyway, so if you're really interested on seeing the real color, you can always look it up online to see the proper color, but I do know that everybody's device is a little bit different. So I see a different result of color on my phone, towards my laptop, towards the desktop computer. So all three of them gives me a different color than what I actually see in real life. So it's a little bit difficult. But anyway, so I think that is everything for my ranunculus. and I am so excited for this sweater because I really want to wear it in these cold weathery days. I'm looking forward to it a lot. All right, let me see. That is everything for the projects that I've worked on this week. So let's move over to find out what's been happening. The previous episode of the podcast was late because of thunderstorms and communication issues and so forth, but it did go up, I think, on Wednesday last week. So there was no video on Saturday last week, but I have decided to take a little bit of a break from making extra videos in between the podcasts. So from now on, there will only be a podcast episode every second week on the channel, as I did for all of the time that I made this podcast. So just letting you know about that there will be no video in between the podcast episodes on a scheduled upload schedule, basically. If there is something that I like to share, I will just pop it up whenever, but for a regular posting schedule, the podcast will still go up on a Saturday morning for now, every second week. Right, as I mentioned, the Ranunculus make along, which this is the hashtag, you can check it out on Instagram if you like. We being my friend Leanie from Independence Yarn Crafts and we are hosting the make along on Instagram, where we have a Instagram group where we share all tips and tricks and things that we have discovered, and share what yarn we are using and what our progress are and all of those things. So if you would like to still join us for this make along, there is still time. The Ranunculus is a very quick knit. Leanie actually finished hers on the 14th of May, so you can go check that out on the group if you like. It is beautiful. She made it with Cowgirl Blues double knit yarn, and yeah, it is gorgeous. I really love it. Right, then as you've seen, my Ranunculus is going great. I think we already have 3 or 4 finished ranunculi, as Sita of the Shawl Knitter Unplugged would say. So I think it's 3 or 4 that has already been finished. So you are more than welcome to go check that out. All right, the next Scrappy Sunday chat. I always mention this, and I think that everybody knows what I'm talking about, but maybe I should just explain a little bit. So the Scrappy Sunday chats is a monthly episode that my friend Leanie from Independence Yarn Crafts and I put together every month. Some months it's pre-recorded, some months it is live on YouTube on both of our channels. But this is a special episode where we talk about all of the scrappy projects that we make. And the Scrappy Sunday thing is basically taking Sundays and just dedicating it to your scrappy projects. Some of our scrappy projects we have to basically work on every day to meet the goal that we set for ourselves, especially on the Battenberg make-along that we are hosting, because it's a 2-year make-along and we basically work on that every day. But all of the other scrappy projects, the thing is trying to dedicate your Sunday to only craft on scrappy things so that they can also get some love, because I tend to neglect them a little bit. If I don't work on them Sundays, then maybe I never work on them. So that is the Scrappy Sunday idea, is on dedicating your Sunday to work on those. So our next Scrappy Sunday chat will be on the 28th of May 2023, which is the last Sunday of the month. It is usually always on the last Sunday of the month. So keep an eye out on social media for more information on that one. If you have any questions for me, please drop them in the comments down below, and tell me, what are you working on currently? I think that is everything that I had for news. I would just like to quickly mention 2 podcasts that you might be interested in and want to maybe check out. They are both new to me. The first one is the Simple Beginners podcast, and then the second one is It's a Sarah. So I just have to mention that this last one, It's a Sarah, she is Dutch and she does her podcast in English and in Dutch. So if you check the channel out, just make sure that if you are not Dutch speaking, that you look at the English version. I think she marks all of them with EN, and obviously it says episode and not a Dutch title. So just wanted to mention that, and I hope that you enjoy these two new podcasts. Hopefully you will be interested and enjoy them, and then maybe you can support them as well. I will link both of them down below for you to check out. And that is everything that I have for you for this episode. Thank you so much. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. If you are new, I hope that you enjoyed this episode and you will consider hanging around and maybe check out some other videos that I have on my channel. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see any more of my content. And I will see you in the next one. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.